All right, hey, we're live for another episode of Keeping It Real, actually the first one of 2016. And so we're going to get this thing rolling here. We got a lot of content, and hopefully you get your pens and paper ready because we're going to be covering a lot of ideas. My goal is to have one or two great ideas you can take from this and start generating more business. And if you don't, you're either already crushing it or you're not paying attention. So we got Greg Harrelson, a returning guest on here, and my name, so if for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Jeff Manson. I'm a Hawaii real estate broker and founder of Real Geeks. My co-host is Frank Klesitz. He's the CEO of Viral Marketing and my partner in these Keeping It Reals. And also we have a returning guest, Greg Harrelson. He's a Myrtle Beach and Charleston broker, and he owns a couple offices, and he's also a Real Geeks customer. He's been a customer for a long time and a good friend. And Greg, how many sites do you have that are Real Geeks sites?
I think I've got 5 Real Geeks sites.
5 Real Geeks sites. Okay, good. So he's a good guy to have on here because he is leveraging it. He's probably not leveraging it in every way, but we're going to have that conversation today of more things he can actually do to leverage more business from the websites, and also with email marketing and stuff like that, and just using technology, period, with texting, auto-response, some mass text, how to get people to get more engaged. That's our goal today. Hey, Frank, can you let them know how they can get notified of these Keeping It Real Hangouts? These are free educational hangouts that we have. We generally have top producing agents and agents rising stars on here, and we have more of an information mastermind. But I've been getting hundreds and hundreds of Real Geeks customers and people that just tune in and say, hey, Jeff, you're the founder of Real Geeks. You do like 150 plus transactions off your website every year. Can you do a hangout on how to leverage websites and technology? So I said, sure, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll start off this year. But Frank, can you go ahead and let them know how they can get notified when we do these?
Yeah, well, real quick, guys. So we set up keepingitreal.com. You can see replays of all of our past events on there, just all embedded from YouTube. Then on there, there's a little opt-in with your name and email. Put your name and email on there, and we'll send you email updates on the events and replays. And you won't get any other emails. You have your segmented, you just get Keeping It Real events, nothing else. And then on Facebook, Real Geeks page on Facebook, Google+, you can follow us on Google+ to get notified of the Hangouts. Then finally, if you subscribe to the Real Geeks channel on YouTube, you get notified of any events that come up to watch us there. And we're also this year on iTunes, right, Jeff?
Yeah. So if they go to iTunes, I think they can maybe find it under Keeping It Real, but if they actually search Real Geeks, it comes up higher. I don't know. So they can go there. I've got 3 pages of notes and things that we want to go over and cover, and we're just going to kind of bounce around. I've got 4 action plans. Can you see these? Yep. 4 action plans that we're going to kind of hit and dive in deeper of how to leverage your website. And 3 of these is not going to cost you any money at all. To leverage your database, work expireds, and FSBOs to use your website to actually dominate those and get more business. So we're going to dive into those. But one of the first things you got to know, though, is if you got a website, you got to get users and traffic to the website to get conversions, okay? You can't, I don't care how good the website is and how well it converts when you're getting traffic over and how easy it is and all that. If you don't get traffic or users over there and start engaging, nothing's going to happen. And, you know, there's really 3 or 4, probably 4 main ways to get traffic to the website. Organically, like Greg and I, all get all organic traffic. And like I said, I did 150 transactions from my website last year, purely organic traffic. So it's not just getting a platform that is search engine friendly. You got to be able to you got to add content, you got to build site authority, and that takes work and time. So not everybody's going to be able to do that. So the other ways are paid traffic and or generally paid traffic. So the number 1 paid traffic way is Google AdWords driving traffic, PPC, pay-per-click. You can drive them to a property search or a list of results and get them to sign up. You can drive them to a home valuation tool with valuation tools. The next most popular, and actually I think is growing, and there's a lot more traffic and leads and branding to be done, is Facebook marketing. We've been doing that for the last 6 to 8 months with customers, driving in the property landing pages where you can actually just take any listing and make it a landing page. We're getting $2 to $5, $6 leads by doing that, and the system is saving their search. So based on the property type and of the property type and that neighborhood of that area, if they go sign up and opt in on one of these property landing pages from a Facebook ad, our system will automatically save those parameters and start dripping on them with similar type properties, okay? So that's one way. You can do the home valuation tools, which is kind of getting oversaturated, but the problem with those the leads on those is the agents, if they don't get instant gratification, and Greg's going to dive in deeper about this. I want Greg to go into this deeper because we do have a domination plan, and he's got one as well, that most agents, if they don't get instant listing or something, they think that those leads suck. You need a long-term plan for those, and Greg's going to help dive in on that. And then just property search reports, but also we got this new thing called market reports. You could drive traffic saying, hey, you know, something to the effect like, hey, Lanikai market is changing. Get the most up-to-date market report of what's going on in the market and drive them to these market report landing pages. And then retargeting on Facebook is very popular. If you're getting existing traffic, it's really important to be using the retargeting pixels. That's all I'm going to cover as far as like driving
that's
traffic. I'm going fast because we got a lot of stuff. I mean, they can rewatch that.
Let's hear from Greg. I want to hear from Greg on those 4 pillars. All right, Greg. Good job, Jeff. Now, Greg, why don't you very briefly,
I don't think I can remember them all.
For those of you that don't remember you, can you just give us a brief introduction of what you've accomplished so far in real estate in your career so people know what you've done and why you're an expert on this area, because you are fantastic. And then let's start off with that first pillar of your 5 websites and organic traffic, would you say, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that and how you drive organic traffic. So quick background who you are, Greg. You don't have to be humble. Tell everyone what you accomplished. Let's talk about organic traffic.
Greg Harrelson, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and you know, I tell you what, I don't know that I've accomplished that much, I guess, but I appreciate you saying what you say because I've got big goals and I'm sure far away from actually reaching those big goals. But you know, right now I was an agent producing a lot of deals and decided to kind of break up my own personal team and really just start building out my company. I run my company as a hybrid instead of it just being a traditional company. I really focus on training, coaching, and providing all the resources like these websites. I focus on generating the leads, pushing them down to my agents, you know. And last year we closed right at about 1,650 transactions. So we're doing a lot of business, and you know, I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of good agents that believe in the system, and I guess that's what I do. That's what we've accomplished.
So. 1,650 transactions. And you provide a lot of leads to your agents through the Real Geek sites. Tell us about how you get organic traffic and your systems for that on all 5.
So I'm not doing any PPC or any Facebook advertising. I do believe those are good means and good platforms. I'm fortunately not doing that right now, and the reason is I invested very heavily early on, and it's important everyone hear this. I invested, early on. And I really built out the Real Geeks platforms, in my opinion, the right way. Meaning, I really just made it real content heavy, and I rank very well. So I've got a whole family of websites. My ranking is extremely high for some of the best search terms in the market. And right now, I'm generating about 450 new leads on a weekly basis. So there's a hive of leads, and it's all organic.
Yeah, that was he kind of cut out. That was 450 leads a week that he's generating, all organic per week. Yes.
All organic. That is correct, and that's all getting routed out through Real Geeks to all my buyer agents.
What are some keywords someone can type onto Google right now that would pull up your websites? Or what are some of the links to those Real Geek sites that someone could type in to kind of play around and look at your content strategy to model for themselves?
So, I mean, what the number one keyword in any city is city name plus real estate. So if you do Myrtle Beach real estate, you're going to find I actually own 2 real estate. I own 2 sites on the on the first page of Google for that particular term, which that's a pretty good term. If you did North Myrtle Beach real estate, Myrtle Beach condos, Myrtle Beach homes for sale, Myrtle Beach homes, Myrtle Beach new construction, North Myrtle Beach, you name it, you pretty much anything Myrtle Beach you're going to see. But the quality traffic really doesn't come from those big terms. The quality traffic's coming from, like, it's very rare that you will find a community inside of my town rank for. So just about any community you would know the name of, let's just say Plantation Lakes homes, you're going to actually see that I'm going to show up probably in the top 3. Usually it's number 1 right under Zillow. If Zillow's ranking, I'm usually number 1 right under them. You know, so I've got, not only am I'm doing well on the terms like Myrtle Beach real estate, but it's the long tail terms that I know that I'm really dominating, and that's where the quality traffic comes from.
So what's your content publishing plan? So if someone wants to start moving away from PPC or Facebook and they want to invest, the keyword, into building out niche pages, I'm assuming you have to hire a journalist to cover each of the areas. What's the content plan? How do you get the content? Who do you hire to build the content? What was your strategy? I'm sure you didn't write it all yourself, or did you?
No, I didn't write it at all. You know, I didn't write. I would say I wrote very little of it. So I do have somebody that works exclusively for me, and basically what we do. I mean, at this point in the game, I'm trying to find if there's any community that I haven't done a community page on. I'm trying to find out what community that is, and then I'll develop one. But what I did in the beginning, for those that are trying to get started in this, is I figured out, okay, what are the areas that the communities, the areas that I really wanted to work on, and I probably just chose 10 communities in the beginning, and then we wrote the content, or I say I had somebody write the content, and they put it up on the website. But the key is they wrote the content, we did a video on it, linked the video to it, and it was a legitimate video. We, posted this thing on social media. We went to Active Rain and did some good blogs. Now, we weren't like trying to just build a bunch of links, but we were writing legitimate blogs about the communities and linking it back to the Real Geeks page on that particular community. So we didn't just write content and stick it up there. We wrote content, did videos on content, make sure we took pictures on that content, did blogs on that back to that content. There's multiple things that we did. There might have been 6 or 7 different steps to actually building the content and linking to the content for every community that we did.
So let's talk about the content.
And so you got to just okay.
Well, what are a couple key areas in Myrtle Beach for all of our listeners over the country? They don't know all the areas, like Plantation, whatever. What are a couple key communities?
Okay, so say Grand Dunes.
Grand Dunes. So if I Google Grand Dunes, Myrtle Beach, one of your sites will show up, and they just see Real Geeks at the bottom and know it's yours.
Or real estate or homes for sale, probably after.
Yeah, and I want them to actually see what it looks like.
If you Google Grand Dunes, I'll rank above granddunes.com if you Google Grand Dunes right now. If you Google Grand Dunes homes, I'll be number 1. If you Google Grand Dunes homes for sale, I'm going to be probably number 1. If I'm not number 1, everyone's computer could be slightly different. It'll be right up there. So Grand Dunes would be one that you could just go to. So in Grand Dunes, if anyone looks at that, they're going to see not only do I have the page about Grand Dunes, but in Grand Dunes there's another maybe 10 subsections of Grand Dunes where they have like sections inside of the big community of the Grand Dunes. So not only do I have a Grand Dunes page, but every single subsection of Grand Dunes has its own page, and then the subsection of Grand Dunes, that page actually links back to the main Grand Dunes page. That's interlinking, right? So you're actually linking from a page on one site to the main page of that same community. So there's a plan all within there.
So all said and done. Go ahead, Jeff. I'll let you.
Let me just jump in here because he's talking about all these layers. So what we built into the Real Geeks website to make it SEO friendly is you can have or make as many sidebar navigations as you want. So he's got multiple sidebars. So as you dive down, he has different sidebars linking into stuff because you don't need to link to these smaller subdivisions that are long tail from your home page or every page. So you can put a hierarchy and pass that weight around. So I just wanted to do that. And also it's important to know that Greg did mention, it's not just adding the content. They went out and built site authority. You can't just get, I don't care what anyone says, you can't just get any, a platform that's SEO friendly, add content and think you're going to rank. You got to have inbound links, site authority, social signals, stuff coming from YouTube and stuff like that. So you got to build site authority, and that's why the portals rank so well, is because us realtors are linking to those portals with their widgets and giving them all the authority. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so to kind of wrap up, Greg, on the organic, I think the best takeaway for anyone here is the investing in the organic content. And for examples of the content, they go to what's your main Myrtle Beach page? What's your main Real Geek site? They can type in right now again.
The Harrelson Group.
C21, the Harrelson Group.
So C21,
the Harrelson Group.
Got it. And they can go there and probably scroll through and look at all your different community pages and how they all work and model that. I mean, at this point, how many different pages of community-based content do you have on your site?
300 or 400 probably.
Yeah, that's incredible.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So
next pillar.
Yeah, it's a lot. And the last thing that I'm going to say about it is this, and I think this is important. You've got to build content for the enjoyment of the reader. Don't go into this thing, I'm going to build content so I can actually build this website. You got to be thinking Google will reward those who actually build a good experience for the user. So you have to have, so we build content thinking about what would the user need to know, what would they need to see. They want to see pictures, they want to see good descriptions of the property, about the amenities of the community. It's got to be educational. They would love to see some videos. So don't just throw up content for the sake of saying, I got some content, because Google's smart enough to figure out when you're just throwing up content just to fill up space, and whether or not you're filling up content to actually improve the experience of the reader. And the way that you can test to see if the experience is good is look at how many minutes that people stay on your site, and look at your bounce rate. If the people are bouncing in and out of your site, it's because it's not worth staying on your site. And so Google knows when people are not interested in your information, because your average minutes on site might be 2 minutes. I mean, ours is probably 9.5.
That's great. So one of the pillars we talked about was organic from strangers everywhere, looking out to the real estate world and people Googling you. But you posted an email recently on the Real Geeks group about how you're generating traffic from your database, right? So you want to talk about how you're driving eyeballs from your database back to your website and strategies that people can use for that?
Sure. So I think you're probably I can't remember what the subject was on that email that I posted on the Real Geeks page, but I think it was about
group. I can't remember what it was either.
It was volatility. It was something about the volatility in on Wall Street. So what I'm doing there is I'm really trying to keep current with the financial markets. Okay, listen, I'm not a financial advisor, but one thing that I do know is this, or I believe I know is this: when there's volatility on Wall Street, then there's a lot of people start to feel that there's uncertainty in the economy. Okay, true or not, they start to feel that there's uncertainty when people are feeling there's uncertainty in the economy, then they start to question how they actually are going to spend their money. Well, are they going to buy a piece of real estate? Should they sell their real estate? So things start to come to question. So what we want to do is we want to take those current events and we want to start building a blog or some sort of email, send that out to our database, because we know it's on their mind. So just the subject line alone is going to get them to read it. And then once they read it, assuming it's educational, it has some merit, they're going to reach out to you. So they either reach out to you and say, yes, I'm thinking about selling, or they reach out to you and say, hey, I'm not thinking about selling, but I really appreciate you sending that information. So it's really, you gotta be able to visualize the consumer sitting here watching what's going on with the stock market and wondering what's going to happen with our economy. Well, guess what? That's a great thing to be talking about with your database. So that's really what I'm doing with that.
Great. So you typed up an email, and then you sent it out to all your contacts that you've been gathering through prospecting, and the leads have been coming through Real Geeks. Sent out to everybody, and you linked it to the seller valuation, I would assume, in the email to find out what your home is worth. Like, where did you send the traffic?
Yeah, so there was two different emails, okay? One I sent to sellers. That's the one really I talked about the volatility in Wall Street, because that would be more about a seller who's on the fence of selling, trying to figure out should he sell now or should he wait to see if the market's going to go up. So the volatility on Wall Street would have went straight to just the seller database. The Real Geeks one was about the increase in interest rates and how the increase in interest rates could impact your your purchasing power. And then that one will have links to the website for searching properties. The home valuation would be linked on the seller one. So the home valuation would be linked on the seller one, and then the Real Geek search page would be linked through the other one that's going to the buyers.
Cool. I'm going to post here for everybody. I write these emails too, like a nice little direct offer email that kind of jerks your database to identify who is interested in maybe buying or selling a home, and I'll post one in the comments for a good example. Any other emails you can share, Greg, or other database strategies?
I mean, I can't think of any like particular ones, but the method is just when something takes place in the market, then go out there and start communicating about it. Because it's all with databases. Look, I'm actually kind of tired of using the term database. I think I'm done with that term, even though I'll still use it. Our database needs to be our audience. And look, if you imagine, when you think about databases versus audiences, like think about people that have audiences. They're the people that are on stages, and when they get on the stage, they need to be talking because the audience is in the stands actually waiting for you to speak, for you to sing, or for you to perform. Our database is our audience. We've got to be speaking to them. We've got to be engaging with them, and we've got to figure out how to engage. And the way we engage is imagine what they're probably thinking about, and then start talking about it with them. So they're our audience. They're waiting for us to speak. We got to speak to them.
Yeah. Hey, and then since we're talking about email or database and emails, that's a great way to drive traffic to your website and get high engagement, especially the home valuation tools. Frank shared, I think we had Bart Vickery on, I don't know, last year sometime, and Bart is one of Frank's clients, and he got an email from Frank, and he sent it to his database towards the beginning of last year, I think it was. And he drove them to the home value, giving them a market update, what the market's going to do for the year. It's a good time to sell. He drove that, and within the email, he drove it to the home valuation tool on the Real Geeks website, and Bart got 72 people actually engage and sign up on that thing, give their information, and he took 13 listings because of it from one email.
That's good.
It must have been a great email, right, Frank?
Oh, yeah. Well, I write them. It's called a direct offer email. You can send an email like that to your database 2, maybe 3 times a year. Can't do it all the time. You usually want to piggyback off like a big event. So when the Fed raised interest rates, I was like, oh, this is a great time for an excuse to mail your list by leading with the interest rate raise, so you're plugging into like all the news going on. Right. So I posted a link to that in the comments. If he wants to copy and paste that, send it out now because it depreciates as time goes away from the interest rate decision.
Hey, Frank, so make a note to get me a copy of that or a downloadable Word doc, because what I'm going to do when we're done here, just so everybody knows, when we do the replay blog post on the Real Geeks website, all these data plans that we're going to go over in a little bit, your email, some information that Greg is going to be sharing with us, this replay will be laced and embedded with all kinds of great content. So just look out for the replay email. We will post everything, and there's going to be a lot of data and content that you guys can take and run with and actually generate more business.
Good. So, Greg, we talked about how you get organic. We wanted to cover that. We talked about leveraging your database and just sending out some helpful top-of-mind awareness content with links back to your website, right? There's an example we posted there, and you can go to Greg's websites that we mentioned earlier. We'll probably include links to those, Jeff, on see examples of how he built that as community pages over time to build
Sure,
organic.
yeah. I always link back to his website.
What's the third pillar of free traffic we promised, Jeff?
Oh, the other free traffic they can get?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I want to back up real quick. Hold that thought. Hey, since we are masterminding, Greg, since you have such good organic traffic, what you really need to do is, now that we have these new market report landing pages that you can create with content and the one-line CMA style stuff that get people to engage and sign up, I would start creating one of those for every community and then linking to them off your existing community pages. And you could, with the power and the site authority of your site, you could start ranking for all the area, cities, and community market conditions, those type of keywords. You'd probably crush it. Just so you
got it.
That I would write that down. You probably already.
Yeah, we're on it. we're on it.
All right, so there's 3 ways you can actually there's probably a lot more ways. You could do, free Facebook posting and stuff like that if you got a good crowd. I actually talked to a customer today and told him about our property landing page. He never watched the video, and he's got a pretty good following. And then he texted me back later, and he said, hey, I already had 2 signups in an hour. Okay, so you can do that if you build your audience, right? And to build your audience, you could also do some paid Facebook and stuff and markets. But there's 3 things I wrote down here, and that I've got actual market plans, is sold data. Now that the MLS has allowed us to have sold data on the website, Greg and I were talking about this back, I don't know, a few months ago, different ways to leverage the sold data. And what I'm telling the Real Geeks customers is that they need to be calling their database and saying, hey, Greg, this is Jeff with American Dream Realty. I'm giving you a call today. I've got a lot of friends and relatives just like you that have asked me to keep them updated on their real estate investment. My website can do that. I can set you up on a sold safe search. It'll send you sold properties as they happen in your neighborhood. It will also send you a monthly market report. Greg, is that something you're interested in getting signed up as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that would be the goal with the sold data. That's one way to leverage your database with sold data. So what you would do on the Real Geeks website, you guys probably have websites, you could probably do this. If not, you can do this in your MLS and upload. I think MLS is you can send sold. It's not as good because it's not branded and other things for them to engage. But what you can do is you go to the Real Geeks website, and I'm talking and telling about the Real Geeks website because we got a lot of viewers from Real Geeks, and they've asked for this webinar. So or Hangout. So what they can do is they can go upload their center of influence, past clients and stuff, into the CRM, and when they do that, it will create an account on the website, and then they start using the CRM on the detailed property or detailed lead page of that contact. When they're talking to them and going through that script, there's a button that says log in as user. They can actually click log in as user and set them up on a sold safe search. And the key is you're giving them something of value, and they're giving you permission to do it, and everybody cares about their property. So you're actually dripping on them whenever there's a sold property in their neighborhood. It's not going to be every day. There's not solds in their neighborhood every day, but you're giving them information. And what's key is on every detailed property page on the Real Geeks website is the home valuation tool too. So they're getting dripped on, and they're getting these sold property updates, and they're also getting the monthly market report. But when they start getting curious about what their property's worth, at the bottom of the property page is the home valuation tool. They can start punching in their address. They go all the way through. They get an automated one. They get the autoresponder that says, hey, thanks for using our automated system. It's a great way to get a broad estimate of your home. The best way is through us realtors using the MLS data, same as appraisers, blah, blah, blah. So they get that, but you get that trigger. So it's a trigger that you're getting from your database, and now you can start calling your database and following up. And when you do this, you should probably schedule, I'm a big caller, so you should schedule at least a call a minimum twice a year with your center of influence. Depends on how big your database is, right? At least, and then you've got something to call. You can ask them, have you been getting these updates and stuff? And when they get the monthly market report, it's an email that says, hey, Greg, here's your monthly market report. They click on one link, takes them back to the Real Geeks website with a one-line CMA, actives, under contracts, and the solds within the last 6 months. They can see what's going on in their neighborhood monthly. And at the bottom, you got the home valuation tool in the property search. Gives them something to engage further on the website. Anyway, so that's a great way of leveraging sold data and importing your whole database and doing that as you build. Do you have anything to add on that, Greg?
You know, no, I mean, I think that's, I mean, we're fully moving forward with all of that. So, I mean, my goal is to literally get 70% of all of our databases into Real Geeks and have them getting these sold data in the market reports. So I've got a specific goal for how many, and that's going to be thousands and thousands of people. So you may want to get a couple more servers or something, because I'm about ready to just bombard the whole system. But the other thing is,
we're on AWS.
Okay, good. So here's another thought: is, hey, let's not ignore all the sellers that we've currently got listed. What about our active sellers? Why not go ahead and, when you get a new listing, put your active seller in Real Geeks, save a sold search, so they can actually get a notification of every single time that a property sells in their community. But this is something you told me, Jeff, but then save my own sold search in my name and actually title the search the property address of my seller. So then I know every time my seller gets a sold notification in their community, I actually get the same exact sold notification. So I know when my seller has actually just received information, and then I can follow up the next day and say, hey, did you see that information about that property that just sold? Notice it sold for $10,000 less than we're listed at, and then engage in a conversation about a potential price reduction. So we can use this sold data platform for a lot. We can leverage it in many, many ways, and I think you need to be leveraging it with your active sellers. That's another value that you can deliver to your sellers while they're listed with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So since you brought that up as setting yourself up, that just is going to segue right into working FSBOs and expireds. Basically the same kind of concept. Greg and I talked another time. Greg and I talk now and then in Mastermind, and different ways of really leveraging things and taking it to the next level so we can dominate, right? So for sell by owners or expireds, you can kind of do the same thing. So for sell by owners, you should be calling them, talking with them, and then saying, hey, Greg, I've got when you're out visiting them or what have you, I got a lot of for sell by owners just like you asking me to keep them updated on the real estate market. I can go ahead and set you up on a property search on my website, and it'll send you anytime there's a new listing in your neighborhood, there's a price change, something goes under contract or sales. Because if you set them up on a normal property search, they get notified of all those activities, right? So you can do that, and then like Greg says, you go and set yourself up on the same exact search, and then label it, the exact same search. You label it FSBO, their address, and their last name. And Greg knows, and I know, and anyone that's worked for sell by owners, it's a marathon with these guys. They think that they're going to be able to sell it, but he who keeps bird dogging them and staying in touch with them is the one that's going to win the listing. So if you're getting an update and then you get your daily update, it's going to be a mile long if you keep doing this, and you click on that FSBO, you can see exactly what happened. Then it's a great time to call them and say, hey, Mr. FSBO, did you see that one property on 123 Main Street just went under contract? And by the way, how's it going for you? When do you plan on maybe giving an agent like myself a chance to sell your home, or whatever you would do? Do you have anything to add on that, Greg?
No, I mean, we talked about that in the past, about the FSBO domination plan, and I think that's exactly what you should be doing. It comes down to, we were talking before we got on, went live, and one of the things that Zillow does very well, in my opinion, is they provide a platform where the consumer feels they can get real-time data. So, like for instance, I mean, I don't want to debate about whether the Zestimate is good or is not good. I'm just not concerned about that debate right now. But the reality is the consumer can just literally click an app on their phone and they can get real-time data as to what the value of their property is. Again, I'm not concerned about whether or not it's accurate or not. They like that. It's fun. It's empowering, even though it could be inaccurate. So what we've got to do is we've got to figure out ways on how we can empower the consumer, because that's what Zillow's doing that realtors are failing to do. So we know that consumers want real-time data. They want to see things as they occur. So setting them up on these sold searches, whether they're FSBOs or any other category, expireds or whatnot, is a way for us to give them real-time data as it occurs. So, I mean, I'm right with you on this.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me too with like if you're a prospector and you're calling non-owner occupieds, and you probably guys have a lot of non-owner occupieds in your neighborhood, and you may be calling them and saying, hey, the market's hot, it's a great time to sell, da 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 da, but they're not all going to be ready to sell. But you can then use almost the same concept as, hey, I got a lot of investors just like you that own second and third homes are asking me to keep them updated on their real estate investment. Would you like me to set you up on a sold safe search and you'll get a monthly market report? So same thing, you could really leverage this in many different ways. And I think most people are just thinking, they got the blinders on, they're like, all right, I just got to drive and I'm just going to get property signups and that's how it all works. But if you really leverage your IDX website, you can make it, it's a huge value if you actually start leveraging it like this. I want to jump into the home valuation stuff because I have a home valuation.
Dude, get away. I'm on live. Okay.
Tell them hello.
You can come in here and watch.
So Greg, you're a master working listings and getting sellers and all that, and I think a lot of agents, as I said at the beginning, are really missing out on these home valuation leads because they call them once or twice and then they suck, they're not going to do it. You're really good at putting systems together and following up plans. I actually, for the Real Geeks customers, and we'll post this too, is I've got a Real Geeks seller lead generation and conversion plan. It's very similar to the one you have. And any of those leads, you really should be, if they're not going to list right away, you should be asking if they want to be updated on the market and putting them on the sold safe search so they get sold properties and also the market report. So you should add that, or any Real Geeks person should be adding that to their plan. But what is your idea or your plan on working these, and can you share?
On like home valuation leads?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, and so many people have their own systems. I look at people that are signing up for home valuations. I view them as I'm going to generalize here, but that's let me back up. When we get buyer leads and we capture buyer leads, we all know that it takes a long time to convert an internet buyer lead because they're doing they're searching when they're in the dreaming stage, and then over time, they continue to go down the funnel and they start becoming they enter into the buying stage, and then we make a sale. Well, home valuation tools, even though we can get some instant sales and listings, for the most part, these people are in the dreaming stage of potentially selling, or they're in the dreaming stage of buying, and part of the dreaming stage is to identify what the value of their property is. So if you actually believe that, then what that means, the importance of that is this, is that the real money in the home valuation leads is after the 12th month. Just like the real money in internet buyer leads is after the 12th month, because you capture them in the dreaming stage and you convert them in the buying stage. But here's where people are failing. If you ignore the buyer or the seller when they're in the dreaming stage, they will ignore you when they're in the buying stage. Very important. And so people they call these valuation leads and they're like, no, I was just checking to see what the value was. They were just in the dreaming stage. And then people just say, oh, that wasn't a good lead, and they never follow up with them. You got to create a system where you're going to follow up with them for at least over a year, and if you'll do that, they'll remember you when they're in the actual selling or the buying stage. So it really comes down to drip systems, putting them on schedulers, making sure that you're calling them at least once a quarter, and emailing them a minimum of once a month, and you know, a video email like you know, Frank has, and then another email you know, in the same month. I think would be a fantastic.
Good. Greg's breaking up a little bit here at the end. That's all right.
I think, yeah, that's fine. He's breaking up a little bit at the end. I think they were getting the point. Also, a lot of people, when they say, oh, they're just the property search ones too, a lot of people that start searching are sellers as well, and I think a lot of agents are missing out on potential listings of property search signups because they're treating them like a buyer instead of just asking them, hey, or the ones that are asking them if they got a home to sell, they're asking them, do you got a home to sell? And then they're like, oh, I don't know you. Instead of approaching it like, I'm curious, you know, Greg, do you currently own your home or are you renting? So you're playing off their ego just to find out if they actually own a home or rent. You play off their ego and a little bit softer like that, and the guys that are not renters are very proud. They're proud homeowners, and they're like, well, I don't rent, I own. Okay, great. So I'm curious, do you plan on keeping that property as a real estate investment when you purchase a new one, or is that going to be something you need to sell? If you take that approach with people and give them some credit, you're going to convert a lot more of these people signing up on the buying site because you're treating them like a seller, but you're not like attacking them. You got a home to sell? I mean, I was talking to a client and I said, well, what do you ask them? Are you asking, do they, you know, what are you asking them? And they're like, well, I ask them, do you got a home to sell? And I'm all, you're asking them just like that? I said, well, you're coming off like a desperate agent and not really listening to them and trying to help them. Are you back, Greg?
He's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right on the money. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. So basically, what Greg I think was trying to say is you've got to have a long-term plan, and if you ignore them because they don't do something up front, they're just going to ignore you when you try and follow up later because they're like, well, I never heard from you. You got to try and.
I don't know. I don't know if you heard the part that I said that the home valuation leads are long-term leads in general, right? Just like internet buyer leads. If you ignore the home valuation leads while they're in the dreaming stage, they will ignore you in the selling stage. And the cycle could be as long as 12 months with these leads.
Or
so
18?
Don't get impatient.
Yeah.
Don't get impatient. The real money is after 12 months. The real in those leads is after the 12th month.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's important why you would set them up on some sort of drifts, and also ask if they want to be set up on the monthly market report. Just set them up on the monthly market report or the sold. Anyone in our system that does a sold safe search gets the monthly market report. It automatically saves it, but you can go and just save them a monthly market report if you don't want to hit them as frequently. And I got the next thing on my list is higher engagement ideas, okay? Because I think a lot of people, you know, they get these leads and then they're not engaging either quickly enough or they're not engaging later on with them. And, you know, in this day and age, a lot of people, when they're signing up on these websites, they're doing it at work. And you should be calling them. You know, we all know the MIT study that you need to call them within 5 minutes or actually within the first minute, and then it gradually goes down if you don't contact them. But you really need to have an SMS autoresponder texting plan in place, because they may be at work and they're on there searching for homes and stuff, and you try and call them like you should be. I'm not saying not to call them. You should be calling, but you try calling them, they're at work. They can't answer the phone. But if you have an auto text going out as soon as they sign up saying, hey, thanks for signing up on the website, or, you know, thanks for signing up on adrhi.com. Curious, what's important in your home search, you know, schools, you know, neighborhoods, views, or whatever, Jeff, you know, what, if you have an auto text going out like that, I think it's really important because you will start getting higher engagement, because there's some stats that show 97% of text messages actually get read, and 90% of those get read in the first 4 to 6 minutes.
Yep.
That's good.
So I think like that, and you know, with the Real Geeks one, I'm just, you know, I'm mention all this Real Geek stuff because we got users that may not even have signed up a while. We got 50% of our users are on our old designs, and they can move over for free. All right? They don't read their emails. So if you guys are watching this, please, I'm going to do a little plea. We just recently sent out an email. We have 3-4 new responsive designs. You can move over to these designs for free. So please move on over. You can change designs anytime. We got an easy-to-use editor where you can actually change over the designs, pick your colors, and if you don't like the colors, we even got it so you can target any element on the page and put in your color code. It's simple and easy and free. Let me say it again. It's free to convert over to the new designs. They get higher conversion rates. They come with a market report. The old designs don't have some of the newer features, and we're not going to put them on the older designs. We want you to move over to the newer, high-converting designs. So I'm pleased. If you're a Real Geeks customer, please move over. But one of the things in the texting, our texting, you can have that autoresponder go over by source, whether it's a property search, home valuation. If they come over the home valuation, if you got your Zillow, Trillia leads coming into the Real Geeks system, Realtor.com or any source, you can have an autoresponder based on source so that lead comes in, and we have like 3 different round robins, so you have different agents available those. But we also listen to our customers. They said, well, I don't necessarily want to go out right like instantly. Can I delay it 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? So we built in that you can set these autoresponders on the text go out up to 15 minutes later. And we also did office hours because if a lead comes in like at 1 in the morning and you do an autoresponder text and then they text back, they're not going to do it. So you can actually set office hours 9 to 5 or 9 to 7. Any leads that come in, it'll go out. But if they come in after hours, it'll wait till the next morning. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm not trying to sell anything, pitch anything, but these Real Geeks guys that are watching this, some of these guys don't understand some of this or they don't read their emails. So I'm pleading them to pay attention because you're missing out.
We got a bunch of questions. Let's get some questions. How does that sound, guys?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, can we do it just a couple other triggers real quick? I mean, Greg, can you go 10, 15 minutes over if we have to?
Sure, whatever you need.
Okay, so another thing, too, to get higher engagement is, like our system, you can go, like if Greg's got a listing, or let's say you don't have listing coming up, but you got somebody in your office coming up, and you want to get higher engagement with the leads in the database for the Real Geeks, so they've been searching properties. If Greg's got one coming up in one of these neighborhoods, he can go in the Real Geeks and search by location in our CRM and put that search in, and it will pull up all the leads in the CRM that ever searched for a property in that area. Then they can then go ahead and start sending them emails, mass texts, or stuff like that, and saying, hey, are you still interested in, what was it, something Dunes? Grand Dunes? Was it Grand Dunes?
Grand Dunes, yeah.
Yeah, are you still interested in Grand Dunes? I wanted you to be one of the first to know about it. I got a listing coming up, not yet on the market. Please let us know if you're interested in finding out more about it. You can send them a text from the system like that. We got a chat. The chat text box, you can do templated text. Start firing off texts to the leads for where you got a listing coming up. That's just another pro tip of how to get higher engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you can even add a filter. With our advanced search, you can keep adding filters. You can put, was active in the last 9 months or the last 90 days, right? If you want to just fine-tune it, if you got older leads. Anyway, that's just some of the things that I wanted to share as far as getting higher engagements. I know we're running up against the hour, so why don't we listen to some questions?
Cool. Greg, what system do you use to send out mass emails?
I use Infusionsoft.
Okay. Anyone go a little further on sending out mass emails through that, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about mass emails is just keep in mind that the receiver, your audience, controls the mute button. Okay, so the mute button in mass emailing, I guess, is really called unsubscribe or spam. So as you're actually sending content, it's got to be content of value. If you're not adding value inside of your communications that you're sending out in mass format, you're going to get a lot of people to opt out of your database. So just remember, don't send anything in mass quantities that you wouldn't be glad to receive from somebody else. I mean, that's just kind of my little tip about it.
Hey, Greg. Cue up the next question. Greg, are you using that location search to send out listings you got coming up to the leads in the Real Geek CRM?
I have not been personally using it, no.
Oh, okay. Are your buyers agents or?
I don't know, really, to be honest with you.
They should be. Okay. Anyway, all right.
Yeah,
So Greg,
I'm sure they are. They love it. I have no clue.
Got it.
Greg, you mentioned earlier that you outsourced the content writing for your property pages. To
Yeah.
go a little deeper on the question, did you outsource your content writing? What tips could you find, or could you give the audience to find someone to help them with their content creation?
What I would do is I'd find somebody local, okay, that actually really knows the market. You know, a lot of people are trying to outsource to, you know, overseas, and they lose that local knowledge. So I would find somebody local personally, and you might be able to go to a local college and find people that are in getting degrees in journalism or in writing or English and teachers, those types of things, and go out there and see if you can find somebody that'll actually write for you. But I think you need local knowledge. That's what's critical.
Okay. I usually like those local readers, like the local reader or City Weekly that you see at bars or whatever. I like to find those journalists and ask them if they'll do writing. They usually do it for you as a freelance job.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's where I'd start, because they're already a journalist in the local area. They have all the sources. They know what to cover in the community. You do it right for your website. Derek asked a question.
Yeah.
We already covered this in the Hangout, but I think it's a good question to summarize what we covered, Greg. What are the top 5 things that a first-time real estate agent should do when building a website to get traffic coming to their site? Not 5 things off the top of your head. Again, we covered most of this, but what would you say one more time?
Yeah. So I would immediately first thing is I would identify a few key communities that you want to focus on, and then I'd go through the conversations that we had about building content, and then I'd go out there and start building videos on that same on those same communities. So I'd really take a few communities, and I would just work multiple platforms, build content on multiple platforms to that one community, and then continue to just add a community time after time after time. That'd be number one. Number two, what I would do is I'd make sure that your response rate is your speed of response is lightning fast. I would also make sure that you don't only call, you don't only text, you don't only email, you actually do every single one of those things, and you do it more frequently than you believe you should. So, don't call them today, leave a message, and then wait for them 2 days to call you back. You call them, leave a message, and then you call them in 2 hours, and then you call them. Heck, I believe that you ought to call them, and then when as soon as you get the lead, you call them, and then when they let it go to voicemail, you actually dial it back once again. You'll be amazed at how many times you dial them and it goes to voicemail, and then you dial them immediately and they see the actually phone call coming over twice, and they're like, oh, I better take this call. It must be important. And then all of a sudden, boom, you pick it up. So you want to be very aggressive in your approach to getting them on the phone. Those are the things. I know he asked for 5, but I mean, those are the top
ones.
things that come to my mind. Yeah.
Sure. How long did it take for your websites to rank that high organically?
For community pages, I could get those to rank, probably, in the beginning, let me quote in the beginning, because right now I can get something to rank pretty quick. But in the beginning, it was a good 6 months before I even, showed up on a radar. But, it may have taken to dominate some really big terms, it was probably 18 months. To really dominate, or if not 2 years to really dominate. So when I said in the beginning, I chose to invest heavily to build the website. When I chose to do that, I knew that I was going to be investing money for a period of time to build this, and I wasn't going to get the return until later on. And that's why people, I think, don't do what I did, is because they don't want to make the investment on the front end with the hope that they're going to get a return. They want to put in $1 and see a return next month. Well, that mentality won't work if you want to build it this way. Not at all.
Great.
Yeah, and mine's been ranking since 2003, and it took me about 6 months to 8 months to get it to rank, but the algorithm has changed a lot since then. Before it was heavily just inbound links, and it was pretty spammy practices, and things have cleaned up. You don't need as many links, but you need all the social signals, and you need all the social signals coming in, and the good content, and also the signals of the site. Low bounce rate, like Greg was talking about. Are they staying on the website and going on? Speed of site, stuff like that. Like my Hawaii website ranks for beaches, schools, and stuff, and my overall bounce rate is only 29%, which is pretty damn low.
Yeah. So, Greg, you talked about in the very beginning you had 5 Real Geek sites. Why 5? And are they all connected through Real Geeks?
Are all my the five websites I talked about are all Real Geeks websites.
Yeah, and you have 5 because you're in 5 different markets. Is that the reason?
Well, I have 2 of them are in different markets. So 2 are in Charleston, and I'm focusing on 2 different areas, 2 different cities. Those are in Charleston, and then I have 3 in Myrtle Beach. And I'm focused. I mean, one of them is so dang big, I almost don't want to continue to build on it because the consumer comes there. It's so massive, that the consumer can take a little bit longer for the consumer to find things. So I went ahead and focused on building another city website. So I have one for Myrtle Beach, then I have one for North Myrtle Beach, and then I wanted to have a website for one of my offices is located in a very niche market called Barefoot Resort. We're right on location, so I wanted Barefoot Realty for that particular website, and then I wanted to focus on dominating for new homes. So I ended up acquiring a domain called MyrtleBeachNewHomes.com, and then I went and built that one out. Okay, so I was trying to be very specific, and I didn't want people to go who are searching for new homes to go and find all this information about everything that's on the market. Even though I want them to have everything, I wanted them to be able to go to a website and only be able to find stuff about new homes because that's what they're interested in.
Great.
So that's how I ended up with multiple sites.
Jeff, is it possible to drop remarketing pixels on Real Geeks platform websites?
Yeah, most definitely. So our competitors that charge 8 to 10 times more don't allow you to do a lot of that and don't allow you to put analytics on it, but Real Geeks is very transparent, and we're like, hey, you can do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want on here for retargeting pixels, tracking, and all that. We have nothing to hide, and we encourage that, actually. We want them to do that.
Gavin asks, can you send us or let us know where could someone go to see the new websites that you mentioned to convert over, what they look like?
Who is that? Is that a customer?
Yeah, Gavin Schneider asks, can you send us links to a few samples of the new designs with 10 exclamation points?
Yeah, so just go to realgeeks.com/designs, and there's 3 of them up there.
Okay.
And they can look, and there's different color combinations, but our tool is really cool. They can go in, like I said, and change anytime they want from design with no customer support, no one charging them anything, and they can actually then pick a color combination, but if they want the button to be some other color code, they can actually go in and target that and change that. Okay?
Great. Good. One more question. Let's get this one was voted. I'm trying to do the ones that are voted up a little bit more. Greg has mentioned before about using Infusionsoft sequences for FSBOs and expireds. Will he run those campaigns in parallel with the Real Geeks market updates? And how would you manage the timing with data coming from 2 CRMs? Good question.
Yeah, great question. Yes, I would run them parallel, okay? But the information that I'm running through Infusionsoft will be totally different than the market research. So I can run them in parallel because one is more value add in the form of educational content, and one is actually more value add in the form of real-time data as to what just sold. So it's 2 different conversations, so I think they can run in tandem without actually confusing the consumer or let's just say stepping on each other. So they can run together.
I would agree.
Good. All right, that's it, boys. 1 hour right there. Jeff, wrap it up.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Great.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks.
See you guys later.
Thanks, Greg.